Oh, hello. Technical difficulties. Give me one sec. Okay. Okay, now all the lights are on. Almost forgot all the things I have to turn on in the morning to do this Love Your Liver live stream. Glad you guys are here. Another Love Your Liver live stream Fridays. We always do these Fridays mornings. And I'm Dr. Garrett Smith, known as the nutrition detective around these here YouTube parts. And today is all Q&A. So I'm just going to be running through questions in the live chat. Those of you who are watching this after the live stream, the questions will be in the live chat. That's where I put my references that I find as we go. Just I'm live researching and finding stuff to back up what I'm saying here. Generally, if I say something here, I have research to back it up. May not be tons of research because if you haven't noticed, the research that they have the most stuff on, everybody's sick. So why would they have so much research if it was right? Why would everybody be so damn sick? Because a lot of research sucks. And it might be corrupt and biased and paid for. Corporations would never, ever do that, would they? They'd never buy research. I mean, you couldn't pay researchers in like an Asian country, a large Asian country, to fake findings, could you? You couldn't pay researchers to fake findings on, I don't know, certain injections, could you? You don't think they could have been doing this for 100 years, do you? And that was all very heavily laced with sarcasm, if you didn't catch it. Now, for those of you who really want your questions answered, there are super chats enabled. So where you can put in a gift and you can get your question to the top of the queue. So just keep that in mind if you choose to do that. That is now enabled. So let's get going. I have an appointment at in an hour. So I'll have to get going on time today. I will have to actually be on time. If somebody goes, well, what's your appointment about? Well, here's the reality, folks. I'm going to talk to you about exercise and fitness and doing stuff with your body for 1 second. First of all, exercise is good for you. Too much exercise. Let's say you're out there and you're really sick and you go, Dr. Smith, any amount of exercise seems to just lay me in bed for 3 days. Unlike your other doctors or your other personal trainers who will say that can't be true, or you have to keep exercising even though you feel like dog crap after you do it. No. If you're super toxic and you exercise, you stir up the toxicity in you. So you should only exercise the amount that you tolerate. If you feel terrible after you exercise, you did too much. You're too toxic. You did too much exercise. You stirred it up. You dumped a bunch of bile via the exercise and it went back into your bloodstream and you feel terrible. Now, life is a contact sport. We're not getting out of this alive. If you don't exercise, you will slowly become weaker and weaker and weaker, and you will fall apart just through disuse, as in not using it. Whereas if you do exercise, even if you're doing smart things, especially as you start to feel better doing my stuff like the Love Your Liver system and all that, you'll get stronger, you'll crave more exercise. And sometimes you're going to get a little tweak here and there because life is a contact sport. I would much rather get a little tweak. So I have a little tweak in my QL right now, my side, because I went pretty intense in my workout the other day, maybe a little too much. Okay, so I'm going to go see a practitioner here in town, a husband and wife chiropractor and massage team, Dr. Schweitzer Family Chiropractic, who they're good friends. I shoot shotguns with Paul, and I go see Dr. Michelle, and it's awesome. So anyway, I'm going to see them today. That's my appointment because I tweaked something a little bit. I'm going to go fix it. I'm not going to let it sit around and just hope it goes away. And I haven't seen him in a while, so it's also a nice social visit. So anyway, that's why I have the appointment, and that's the reality of exercise. You are exercising to become stronger so you don't become injured. And yet, you can get injured working out, making yourself better, or you can get injured not doing anything. And then in the end, so if you get injured and you're making yourself stronger and better, at the end, you're stronger and you may still have a little tweak. If you don't exercise, you get weaker and you still get tweaks because your muscles can't support you the way they're supposed to because they're too weak. I was into fitness before I was into medicine. If you think I do weird stuff, abnormal stuff, atypical stuff in nutrition, boy, you should see my exercise. Anyway, okay. Sameli asks, post-Accutane side effects sufferer here. What do you think about using ox bile supplement? I think I feel better on it, but is it sustainable? So this is a concept, though some people understand this concept of what I'm about to talk about is crutches or Band-Aids. As what an ox bile supplement is a crutch or a Band-Aid. Now, that's not necessarily bad. Let me explain. If I break my leg and my leg's in a cast and I want to take weight off of my leg so it can heal, do I want crutches? Absolutely. I'm in an injured state. I'm in if you want to call it a diseased state. I have a disease of a broken bone. Okay. I'm going to use the crutches or it's not going to heal right and it's going to hurt like hell because I'm putting weight on a broken bone. Do I think high-dose B vitamins, as an example, are absolutely a crutch? They are an antidote to toxicity in your system. You should not have to take, if you were not toxic, key things here, folks. If you were not so toxic, you would not have to take mega doses of B vitamins. Here's something I want you to think about. Why does the body work so hard to piss out all those B vitamins? Why does it work so hard to piss out all the extra B vitamins you don't need? Think about that. People are like, it's water soluble. You can't overdose on it. Well, yeah, you can. Look up B6 toxicity. Look up niacin and hepatic damage. You can absolutely hurt yourself with B vitamins. Don't let anybody fool you into thinking you can't hurt yourself with B vitamins. And then why does your body work so hard to piss them out? Does that mean you can't use B vitamins? No. It means they're a crutch. If you feel better, let me simplify your B vitamin journey. If you're taking a B vitamin and you don't feel better from it, significantly, noticeably better from it, it is simply a load on your system. It's a load on your liver. It's a load on your kidneys. You're taking something that your body doesn't need and isn't benefiting from, and you should stop. Very simple. If you're taking a B complex and you're going, well, I feel better on the B complex. Do I need all of them? Probably not. So maybe you should break that down into the individual B vitamins and figure out which one of them is helping you so you can get rid of the rest of them. The idea of a B complex is a bunch of garbage. It's a bunch. They're like sometimes like with choline and inositol and these other things. They're like, they may be in the B vitamin family. We're not totally sure. What does it matter? If you need something, you need it. If you don't need it, you don't need it. Look at the B complex vitamins and look at how they have B50 and it's like 50 milligrams of this and 50 micrograms of that. And, go and try to find that exact proportion of B vitamins in every food that contains B vitamins. You won't find it. Some foods have way more of this. Some foods have way more of this. Some foods have none of this. And some foods have none of that in terms of the B vitamins. There is no magical B complex proportion. That's garbage science. So, B vitamins as crutches, ox bile as crutches, TUDCA as a crutch. These are crutches. If you aren't sure if you feel better on something, here's the easy way to figure it out. Take it, see if you feel better. At least a week. Vitamin K, if you want to see benefits from vitamin K, if you're going to feel benefits from vitamin K, you got to take it at least a month. That's one of the problems with the so-called fat-soluble vitamins, especially A, D, and E, the ones I'm not a big fan of. They take a long time to show benefit or toxicity. That's why nobody can figure out that they're toxic. People are like, I've been eating liver for like a year now. I feel fine. And you're like, and if you actually get them to honestly look at their symptoms, they've been slowly getting worse because it's slow. The slow poisons are the ones you don't catch. That's why I didn't catch it in practice. That's why people, when they stop their vitamin D supplements, it can take them like a month to notice that they feel better without it. So, with bile supplements, which is all ox bile is and TUDCA is, if you are taking it and you feel better, it's a crutch. That's okay. Do we want to be on crutches forever? Like if you break your leg and it heals inside the cast over 8 weeks, do you want to leave the cast on? Do you want to be like, oh, I never want to break my leg again, so I'm just going to leave the cast on forever. I'm going to keep walking around in crutches. Do you want to do that? No, that's not the point. The point is to get back to normal life, normal health, normal movement, normal function. So what you do in the meantime is you're doing things like your body heals your leg. Well, we have to do things like avoiding toxins and getting the right amount of nutrients, especially critical essential minerals, of which there's only really about 6 minerals I worry about, folks. People are like, I need the trace minerals, the 72 minerals, which means like 3/4 of those minerals are either completely unnecessary or toxic. Here's a clue. If something's unnecessary to you, if you don't need it, if it's not essential, any amount you take may become toxic to you. That's where people go, well, you could kill yourself drinking too much water. Okay, but water is essential. You can't say, well, water, why are you saying you can't drink water? Because it could kill you if you drink too much. And I go, well, try not drinking any. See how that goes. Okay. Whereas vitamin A, we have people getting their levels in their blood down to like less than the lab can detect, and they only get better if their diet's adequate and they get enough zinc. So then therefore, if we can survive without basically any vitamin A, but it's toxic in large amounts, do you understand that only means it's a toxin? Do you understand that? This is critical. When something is essential, you kind of have to have it. And could you overdo it? Sure. If something's not necessary at all, but it's toxic in large amounts, then it's a poison. So quit with this whole the doses and the poison nonsense. Of course it is. Sure, the more you take of a poison, the quicker it poisons you. Durr. But if you need something, then you sure as shit better figure out what the dose is you need. What do I do for that? I do testing. I do hair and blood testing. We get it right. And we do follow-ups, and we watch people's symptoms. And we watch their reactions and their own feedback. And we adjust from there. Because while people are all individuals, like we're all humans. We all have the same basic machinery, the same basic engines. But different engines, if you think about with different cars, they need different amounts of things. They need different types of gas. They need different types of oil. They have different sized parts. And so, inside the engine, you can't just replace one part with another part from another car. It doesn't work that way. So you're going to be similar to other people, but you need different amounts of things. Or maybe your engine needs very little of this and their engine needs tons of that. So anyway, ox bile, back to the original question. If someone was doing, let's say, working with me or just doing the do-it-yourself love your liver program part of this, I would say if you noticeably feel better on the ox bile, you can take it. You're trying to take the minimal effective dose, which means the minimum amount that you need to get the most benefit. So if you got if you notice the most improvement from one pill of it and 2 pills didn't really do anything extra for you, then do 1 pill. Don't take more than necessary. The more is better mentality has been the worst thing for the health world ever. Superfoods. More is better. Oh boy. How many people are here because they got jacked up from superfoods? If you see the word superfood used, I've actually made a vow. I need to make sure it's not on the network anymore. I tried to use it once and I don't like it. I hate the word superfoods. If you ever hear me, I'd see superfoods are like a red flag. Stay away from people who call things superfoods. Humans need basic foods. So anyway, take the minimal effective dose. And if you were doing stuff with me, whether it's the mineral program, the testing and consultation, or the Love Your Liver program, eventually we would want to see you need less until you don't need it at all. Or you notice that, hey, I feel good pretty much all the time. Maybe I don't need the ox bile. Or you want to know a cool thing that your body starts doing as you get better? Your body will intuitively start forgetting to take it because you feel better and your body's just going, we don't really need that. You're intuitively avoiding it. We see people do this all the time. If this happened to you, feel free to say in the comments as you've gone along. It's one of the coolest things that happened to me with charcoal. I was taking tons of charcoal for a long time. Then all of a sudden I just started not really feeling like doing the charcoal and forgetting it. And then I just realized I didn't need it anymore. But when people need charcoal, it's really helpful. Somebody was telling me yesterday on office hours, my bi-weekly follow-up sessions for testing and consultation clients that's included in the package, that they were actually starting to really like the activated charcoal in the water that they were taking. Gosh, why would their body give them such a signal? Because their body's figured out that that's good for them. What do I teach people in the program to do? Listen to the signals your body gives you. Isn't this an amazing thing in medicine? Instead of just reading some ivory tower blogger like Ray Peat telling you to take all this garbage, and then people take it and they like get worse and worse and worse. Oh, don't listen to your body. Just keep taking it. Just keep doing all these things we're telling you to do as you're getting worse. Oh, that extra weight you put on, oh, that's healing pounds. That is a bunch of garbage. Unless you're excessively skinny to begin with and you need to gain weight. If you're getting fat, those are not healing pounds. You're getting toxic. Let me help you with that one. We just got a new testimonial up on this YouTube channel about someone who was doing the Ray Peat approaches with lots of Ray Peat type practitioners. She was getting worse and worse and worse. And then go listen to the testimonial to hear what's happened to her since. So, moving on. Mireille, I don't know. I want to say it right, but I'm not trying to mock it. I just want to, I don't know how to say it. It's hard to do that on here. So anyway, hi, Dr. Smith. Are fulvic and humic acid safe to consume? Probably. Do they contain all the minerals? That's what they say. Do you want all the minerals? Do you want mercury, cadmium, lead, bromine, copper, manganese? I don't. Do I get people better? I want you all to understand this. Do I use any trace mineral supplements that cover all the minerals in my program, whether that's trace minerals from some magical ocean supply or trace minerals from fulvic acid or humic acid or what's the one, Shilajit? Do I use any of these things? No, I don't. I get people better without any of this. Gosh, weird. Maybe they're just selling you a bunch of BS. It sounds great. Don't get me wrong. I used to buy that crap. It has all the minerals your body needs. Do we need gold to run our system? Does anyone have a gold deficiency? I don't know. Doesn't seem like it. So, are they safe to consume? If they have toxic metals in them, if they're saying you can absorb minerals so well from fulvic acid and humic acid, and they have all the minerals in them. If they have all the minerals, by definition, they have all the toxic minerals in them. If they're helping you absorb stuff better, if they have toxic metals in them, are you absorbing those even better? I don't know. I don't use them. I used them for a little while. I tried Shilajit, and I had quite a few clients not feel good on it at all. Wasn't there some product that had a big loss or a big like coming out of it was super toxic? It was like a humic acid. Somebody on the network had a big problem. They think they got totally like lead toxic from one of these supplements. And there I forget what it was. If somebody can think up that supplement, put it up. But yeah, so there was a toxic lead. I think it was lead in a supplement, and one guy on the network got really messed up from it. And it was one of these like, was it? I don't want to say the name of a product and get like libel or slander or whatever it is. I don't follow legal terms. Lawyers are, as Shakespeare said, lawyers are best 6 feet underground. So I don't worry too much about legal terms. So anyway, are they safe to consume? I don't know. I don't use them. I don't find them necessary. Pierre says, what's your take on the medieval diet having to do with the 4 humors? It seems to coincide with the stuff you talked about when it comes to the different types of bile. Well, somebody brought up here. Let me do a little link here. The word melancholy. Right? Melancholy is depressed, right? Melancholia or melancholy is a concept found through ancient medieval and pre-modern medicine in Europe that describes a condition characterized by markedly depressed mood, bodily complaints, and sometimes hallucinations and delusions. Melancholy was regarded as one of the 4 temperaments matching the 4 humors. What does melancholy mean? So that was from Melancholia, which is the Wikipedia. Anybody who's like, you can't use Wikipedia. Wikipedia is totally compromised, is corrupted. What? We're just looking at a basic definition of a word, bro. Calm down. What does melancholy mean? Black bile. Preponderance or excess of black bile. State as anger or sorrow produced by excessive black bile. So weird that even back then, they were associating toxic bile, the bad mood, and bodily complaints. So weird. There was an article I found somewhere about, it was about, let me find it. It was about headaches and bile. I'm going on the Love Your Liver network to find where I wrote about this, because I'm sure this is where I wrote about it. And the link so I can let me see. I might have talked about it in a video. Anyway, I'll see if I can find it on the internet. So let's go. Bilious headache. Bilious headache, bile headache, is a headache which a person experiences after overeating or consuming heavy meals. Heavy meals would mean high-fat meals, leading to indigestion and headache. Patients with liver disorders may also suffer from bilious headache. Bilious headache is felt as a dull pain located in the forehead region with throbbing pain in the temples. Okay, so wait. So there's bile associated with headaches. Not what I wanted. Oh, it was Galen. So let me look up Galen. Let's see. Here we go from this page, aneski.com, History of the Headache. So I'm not going to go over the four humors so much, just as like in the history of medicine, they knew about toxic bile. Remember, I forget how many live streams it was ago where I was showing that the Rockefeller Institute had published research on toxic bile in 1905 and 1906. Toxic bile in the title of the article. How long have we known about this toxic bile problem? Apparently, they knew about it even back in the ancient Greek days. What do doctors here's how you want to know how the last 100 years of science has been totally corrupted. What does the alternative world and the medical world talk? How do they talk about bile? Oh, you need bile to help you digest and absorb your food, and your problems in your digestion are only caused by a lack of bile production, or your bile is too thick. Your bile is just not quite right. They don't talk about all the toxic things that you put into your bile as the best way of getting rid of it via pooping. It's this weird thing of not wanting people to think of themselves as bad or the problem. We have this weird thing in our society where we never want to blame people. We never want people to take responsibility for themselves. We just want them to feel okay about themselves. Whereas if you knew that, like, in your liver, right? I got my hands over my liver right here. If you knew that in the liver was stored most of the toxicity that you have, and that you're just recirculating this toxicity as bile through your bloodstream, and that's what causes your chronic disease symptoms. Therefore, your highest goal is to make bile well and get rid of it well. Make your bile less toxic. Make lots of bile so that you can get rid of it, and then get rid of it through your poop. That's the best way. Now, we talk about leaky bile here. We talk about toxic bile leaking into the blood, cholestasis, liver injury. This causes your bile to leak into your blood. This is the cause of your chronic health issues. If we fix that leaky bile, your chronic health issues go away. We see it all the time. However, if you push your bile production, so people listening to this, some of you new people are going to be like, oh, well, I'll just drink tons of coffee and eat tons of fat because that's what the internet says to do. And you go and you try that and you feel awful. You're leaking bile. Let's say you doubled your amount of bile dumping and you doubled the amount of bile in your blood. This is not a game. You can go out there and go on your own, or you can have my personal experience, my ability at pattern recognitions, and the 1,300 plus people in the Love Your Liver network to tell you when you're messing yourself up and when you shouldn't do stuff. You can go on your own. You'll probably misread the research and lose time. So anyway, there was headache. I didn't get into Galen and so in 2nd century Rome, Galen, pretty important guy in medicine, Galen of Pergamon established the master pattern of what was to become Islamic and European medicine up to the 17th century. He elaborated on Aretios's clinical descriptions and pathophysiology. Migraine is caused by yellow bile irritating the brain and meninges, but the bile held back by the falx cerebri affects only one half the head. Throbbing pain originates from blood vessels and tension pain from tendons or nerves. Migraine comes to us from Galen's Hemicrania through France, where the physician Rabelais also used migraine for a fire grenade. Galen's idea of bile from the liver causing migraine is still popular in France to this day, where migraine hepatique, hepatique would be liver, hepatic, is attributed to liver disease. Weird that we would connect bile with headaches. I've posted the research here about how diabetics have twice as much bile in their blood. So we've got yellow bile here. We've got black bile as melancholy. We've got yellow bile as migraines. If the bile stays in your liver, in your bile ducts, and in your intestines, how would it get to your brain? It doesn't. If your bile leaks into your blood, which is exactly what we're talking about as the cause of chronic disease, it affects your nervous system, it affects your brain. That's how your bile gets there, is the leakiness. So, moving on. Van Gieser says, man, doesn't a mold-infested house take a toll on people's liver? Yes. Mycotoxins, really bad for the liver. Besides the rest of the respiratory system, meninges and whatnot, pigeons' aspergillus is quite offending and may turn disabling. Yes. So let me simplify this for those of you seeing doctors who are like testing your blood for mold and mycotoxins. First, anything, let's say you live in a moldy house. Let's say your life was perfect in terms of avoiding toxins. Was your life perfect until then? No. But let's create this as a thought experiment. Your life was toxin-free and you had perfect nutrition. And then you live in a moldy house. And the mold is poisoning you. And mold go look up mold or mycotoxins and liver injury. Aspergillus mold on peanuts. Go look up peanuts and liver cancer. I love peanut butter. Cool story. Eat your mold. I remember my biochemistry teacher in medical school, naturopathic medical school, telling us that at the time, one of my favorite grocery stores, Trader Joe's, had a supposedly, it was aspergillus. I forget why am I not thinking of the toxin right now? The mycotoxin that aspergillus makes, aflatoxin. They said on the label that they had an aflatoxin-free peanut butter. And he actually tested it. He's a researcher. He's a biochemist. He tested it. He said it was actually higher than the other peanut butters that were out there. Whoops. If you want to see it for yourself on peanuts, this was when I decided I was never eating peanuts again. I was at Five Guys with my son. It's a burger place, and they give you free peanuts. And I was eating. I still don't eat many peanuts, but I was eating a couple of them with him because he liked it. And I looked on, go when you eat peanuts next, look on the inside of the shell. Eventually, you're going to see like a spider web looking coating. Like it looks like almost like silk on the inside of the peanut shell. Guess what that is? That's mold. So that peanut you just ate was covered in mold. Then look up peanuts and liver cancer and aflatoxin and liver cancer. So, the key thing for mold is to get away from it. Like peanuts are easy to avoid. If you live in a moldy house, let me put it this way. For those of you who are spending tons of money with doctors or practitioners, and they're saying you have mold in your system, and you got to take all these supplements to get the mold out of your system, and you're feeling worse and worse and worse and worse and worse, the only thing you should be doing is stopping seeing those practitioners and putting all your money into getting that mold either the hell out of your house or moving. That's the only solution. You cannot be continually poisoned and expect to supplement your way out of it. That's not how it works. The poison always wins. That's the saying. The poison always wins. Like, let's say you knew arsenic. Let's say you were eating tons of rice. And we can see that arsenic on your hair test. And you think that zinc, which is antagonistic to arsenic. Zinc does help get rid of arsenic. And you think, well, I'm just going to keep eating all this arsenic and I'm just going to take more and more zinc. What if you start trying to get your zinc, you try to get your zinc up and your arsenic up, and maybe you're not testing your zinc either. And now all of a sudden, you still have high arsenic on your hair test because you just allowed yourself to keep eating rice. And now you're zinc toxic too. Now you have two problems. When, if you simply fixed the source of the toxicity, which could be the rice, and there's ways you can make less arsenic in rice. You can soak it before you cook it and discard that water. The key thing to know is when you put rice in water, whether you're boiling it, whether you're soaking it, rice in water, the arsenic moves into the water. A lot of it. You need to get rid of that water. So for those of you who are just like, I'm just going to make rice. So you have your rice cooker or whatever, you put the rice in it, you put the water in it, you cook it, and you cook down the water so all the rice soaks up all the water. So the arsenic went into the water, and then you dried out all the water so all the arsenic went right back on the outside of the rice. Perfect place for you to absorb it. Whereas you can do things like soaking the rice. You can even add some charcoal to the soaking water, which will then grab onto that arsenic when it's out in the water. And then you rinse the rice, and yeah, there might be a little charcoal left on your rice. You might be eating gray rice, but you can rinse most of that charcoal off. You can cook the rice in an excess of water like you would cook pasta, and then drain off the water. You can parboil the rice where you like half cook the rice in an excess of water. So you get the arsenic to go off into the water, and then you pour off that water, and then you cook it again in some excess water, and then you have more arsenic go into that water. Now, I will tell you, for those of you who are obsessed with B vitamins, the arsenic goes into the water, and so do a lot of the B vitamins. You got to make a choice. Poison always wins. I don't eat rice. Rice is a part of the Love Your Liver program. People can eat it, brown or white. But eating rice, you better deal with the arsenic. You're going to deal with the arsenic one of two ways. You're either going to try to get it off the rice before you eat it, or you're going to eat it and try to have your body get rid of it later. I remember this one saying, it was great. I used to see it on Speedway here in Tucson. It was a water filter company, water filter business. And their sign was buy a filter or be a filter. I thought that was brilliant because it makes total sense. So like if you eat rice, clean the arsenic out of the rice before you eat it, or you make your body clean it out after. Which one do you think causes you more potential damage? I hope you understand. So now there was hold on, I saw it. There it is. We got a super chat. Why do they think that vitamin A is good for our eyes when it is so toxic? What did they get wrong? Thank you for your great work. Well, thank you. Thank you for the super chat, and thank you for the compliment. Now I'm going to go find a couple articles from my research forum. It's a great question. Now, here's a weird thing. I'm going to tell you about the only time in research that vitamin A quote unquote shows benefits. This is when you have severely malnourished people. Like, I'm just going to do the cliche, like starving Africans. That's where they do a lot of these vitamin A studies, where they give, like basically barely subsisting Africans pokies and 200,000 unit vitamin A injections at the same time. Gosh, if they were after population control, I can't believe they'd go and do that there. Or in Asia, for that matter, especially rural Asia. So let's go and find carrots. So I'm on my research forum. Let me go find it. Where is it? Here's this article, a World War II. Look in here. Let me open this up. So this is from the Smithsonian Magazine. A World War II propaganda campaign popularized the myth that carrots help you see in the dark. How a ruse to keep German pilots confused gave the vitamin A rich vegetable too much credit. They just told you that vitamin A for your eyes is a lie. The Smithsonian Magazine. They just told you. Okay, we'll go on with this. There's a Smithsonian article. Now, what if we were to go into the real research? Well, let's go into one thing. Why are carrots orange? It is political. That's the article. Why are carrots orange? It is political. Allegedly. Well, so here, let's go. The spectrum of colors carrots used to have, and in some regions in the world, you can still find white, yellow, red, and purple carrots. In most countries, however, carrots tend to be orange nowadays. Why is that? Allegedly, they are orange for entirely political reasons. In the 17th century, Dutch growers are thought to have cultivated orange carrots as a tribute to William of Orange, who led the struggle for Dutch independence, and the color stuck. 1,000 years of yellow, white, and purple carrot history was wiped out in a generation. Although some scholars doubt if orange carrots even existed prior to the 16th century, they now form the basis of most commercial cultivators around the world. So, political, huh? Weird. They wouldn't do things politically for nutritional poisoning purposes, would they? Oh, I want to tell you guys something. It has been quite obvious in my subscriber numbers, in my new subscriber numbers, that things may have been getting a little suppressed here on this channel. So it would be super helpful for you guys to share this around the internet. Also, to, if you're in the live chat right now, or if you're watching this later, to like and subscribe to the channel. That is what keeps the algorithms happy. So if you do that, that would be great. There is absolutely something funky going on behind the scenes here. We would expect this, right? I'm going to be putting all these up in the future on various platforms, possibly on podcast platforms also. But until then, if you want to help the world with this information, get this out there. Like and subscribe and share it, okay? So we have that. So now what if we went into, what if we actually showed that carrots got women worse night vision? Wouldn't that, they would never lie to us about this, would they? Here, let me put this link here. And all I did was I went on my research forum, the nutrition, this is Nutrition Restored is my old website. So when you're seeing these nutritionrestored.com links in the chat, that's my old website. I haven't moved it all over yet, but I wanted to save all this. It's like 400 plus posts of mine. Just me. It's a forum, but it's me. That's my kind of forum. It's just me talking to myself, right? So then we have this study shows that more carrots, worse night vision. The paper was called Carrots, Carotene, and Seeing in the Dark. Here's the important quote. Poor night vision among women was associated with higher beta carotene and total vitamin A intake. Increased consumption of carrots, but no other food high in beta carotene was associated with significant increased reporting of poor night vision among women. Here's the actual paper. Carrots helping your vision was a propaganda lie. The more carrots women ate and the higher their beta carotene and total vitamin A intake, the worse their night vision. And carrots were not even normally orange. Does this sound like a scheme to you? Sounds like some sort of scheme to me. So when people, okay, so let me give you another example of someone. This is the vitamin A thing. Vitamin A only helps in conditions of malnutrition, which almost always goes along with all sorts of mineral deficiencies and other nutrient deficiencies, especially protein deficiency, right? Protein deficiency protects you against vitamin A toxicity. So I knew a gentleman who was a vegan. And he's like, "Oh, my eyes were getting terrible." Well, okay, here, let me tell you something. There's no shortage of vitamin A, carotenes on any vegan diet that I could find if they're eating fruits and vegetables. Oh, my eyes were getting so bad. So he was a vegan. He still considered himself a vegan. Oh, but now he eats liver once a week. And it did such wonders for his eyes. I'm going to tell you, there are very few people out there that can thrive on a vegan diet. The ones that can do the best on a vegan diet. They're very few in number. But they do exist. So if somebody came to me and they're like, "Man, I tried eating meat. I just feel terrible when I eat meat. If I go vegan, I feel better." And if they're maintaining good weight and they look healthy and things seem healthy in them, you should know what I'm going to do. I'm not going to tell them to change anything. If that's what works for you, go for it. Most people need some meat. Some people need more meat than others. Anyway, so he started getting, what did he add to his diet when he added liver? He added protein, animal protein. He added vitamin A in retinol form. And there's a very weird thing where when people get toxic on carotenoids and they're getting toxic, which we just talked about, carotenoids worsening vision, right? But they take in some retinol, things seem to improve. And there's a very weird thing with like carnivores who eat tons of liver. Can we say Paul Saladino? And then they start eating high carotenoid fruits like mango and papaya and all these things. That seems to protect them against the vitamin A that they were already poisoned with. So there's a weird thing when you poison yourself with one form of vitamin A, like the carotenoids, that somehow getting the retinol makes things seem better. And then if you've already poisoned yourself with retinol esters, like in liver, then all of a sudden the carotenoids seem to make you feel better. Should we assume that any of these people have a vitamin A deficiency? You know, our government, U.S. government, says they stopped requiring companies to list the content of vitamin A on labels here in the U.S. because they said vitamin A deficiency is so rare in this country that they don't need to even label it anymore. I say vitamin A deficiency doesn't even exist. By the way, I'm going to enter another gun competition this weekend, and my eyes seem to be just fine and probably getting better than other people's. You don't need vitamin A for your eyes. Vitamin A makes your eyes worse over time. Any eye problem that people associate with vitamin A, hey, go watch the video on this channel. Vitamin A deficiency doesn't exist, where I go over that anything people think is vitamin A deficiency with the eyes almost always goes with a zinc deficiency or a taurine deficiency, or both. Let me tell you something. When I talk about malnourished people, generally malnourished people are probably not eating a lot of meat, right? What's the best source of zinc in the diet for what is the best source of zinc in human diets? It's called meat, red meat. What is the highest source of taurine in modern diets? Red meat. Are malnourished people probably eating enough or any red meat? No, probably not. So would they get enough zinc and taurine? No. Okay, moving on. Let me find the next question. Remember, super chats go to the top if you want your question answered. Okay. Van Gieser asked, where can we read about the four humors in medieval diet? Is this something Hippocrates talked about? Yeah, just go look up the four humors with the British spelling, especially HUMOURS. And you might even type in four humors and bile. So, Van Gieser says, hi, hello. Yeah, Pierre said four humors, basically yellow bile, green bile, black bile, and blood bile. Okay. Sam asks, how bad is overeating for your liver? Well, think of the simplest way to think of your liver in terms of food is that your liver is like the bouncer at the door. So what happens when you eat, all that food goes into your intestines, and then it's called the portal venous system. So your intestines, so they're lined with like, what do they say? 80% of your immune system is in your intestines. Why is that? Because it's the bouncers. It's like the security guards to let things through. They tend to let most things through, sadly, but it goes into the portal venous system, and then it goes into the portal vein, which goes right into your liver. So that's your intestines let things through generally, for better or worse. And this goes right to your liver, where your liver is then doing, your liver is like the big bouncer, the one who makes the final decision. And it's going to put toxic stuff either into storage. First place is the liver because it's right there. Or it's going to put it into it's going to run it through processing phase 1, phase 2, all that stuff. Or it's going to put it into the bile. If you overeat at once, you know how like nightclubs can have lines out the door down the street? You're basically just overloading your liver's security system for quite a long time. Overeating has generally healthy people. I forget that saying in it's like an Asian saying of eating until you're only, what was it, 2/3 full or 3/4 full, maybe 80% full. So you always leave some space in there for digestion, to happen. If you think of it, it's kind of like if you had a jar and you could fill and you wanted to shake up the stuff in the jar. And so if the jar is totally full with no air bubbles, it's really hard to shake it up because there's nothing agitating it. Whereas if you leave some airspace in it and you shake it up, the air bubbles agitate it, right? Well, if your stomach is just full of stuff, there's not the muscle action of your stomach and of your intestines is going to really have a hard time working because it's kind of stretched to the limit. And when you stretch muscles to their limit, if you know it in the weight room, when you are fully stretched on a muscle, are you strong in that position? No, you're terribly weak in a fully stretched position. You're terribly weak. That's probably the weakest place your muscle has. So if you do the same thing to your digestive system, it's just not going to work. And if you're taxing out, like you're trying to make digestive enzymes and stomach acid to the highest extent possible, you may fall short. If you're not healthy, you're going to fall short. Everything in your system is not working well. So generally getting used to, unless you're underweight and it would probably be better if you're underweight and you need to eat a lot, it would be better to eat more often in the day and not be completely stuffed than it would be to eat gigantic meals. Like the whole intermittent fasting thing where people are eating all their calories in one meal over like a couple of hours. I don't think that's good. It is a way to reduce your calories because your digestive system can only handle so much. But I don't think that's like the one meal a day long term. Long term, I don't know anybody who really sticks with one meal a day long term. I'm talking multiple years. They drop off of it. So it's not good for you. People who live a long time do not stuff themselves full. They chew their food very well. Chew your food, people. Chew your food. That will help all of your health. If you make a smoothie, chew every bite before you swallow it. Get the saliva mixed in there. Your saliva is there for a reason. I love the carnivore people where they're like, we are designed to eat meat and only meat. And I'm like, so why do we have saliva with amylase in it to break down starches? Why do we have flat molars? Why do we have a long, small intestine? Like we're omnivores. We rule this planet because we can eat most things. We can eat almost everything. That doesn't mean we should. There's lots of things you could do that you shouldn't do. Eating certain foods is one of them. So, okay, continuing on. But yeah, don't stuff yourself. That's not. I've gotten so used to not stuffing myself. One of the things I had to do is, for those of you who are overweight, who weigh more than you'd like, one of the easiest ways to lose weight, it doesn't mean you have to be hungry. Just don't get full at every meal. There's a difference between feeling satiated and satisfied and realizing that you've had enough versus feeling full. The idea that you have to feel full, where you have to like actually feel like your digestive system is full, is part of why so many people are fat. Is because if they're not full, they're empty, right? People get into these black and white thought patterns. If you're satiated and you've gotten enough food, but you're not full, you're okay. Humans, we have this really weird thing of if we don't go to extremes, it's like when doctors tell you to drink enough water to pee clear. That's not good for you. Peeing clear is bad. Your body's dumping water. It's saying you're drinking too much. When you imagine pee in your mind, it's if you close your eyes and you think of, if somebody says, what does pee look like? In your mind, you're going to think yellow, right? Hopefully you do. If somebody says, think of what water looks like water in a glass, and you think of clear water, and then you think, what does pee in a glass look like? And you think yellow. Do you understand? You know what pee is supposed to look like. You know what water's supposed to look like. If you're peeing water, that's bad. But what do doctors do? What do health experts do? They assume, this is one thing I don't do. They assume that you are too dumb to help yourself. And that it would be better, rather than you being underhydrated or dehydrated, because they assume that you're too stupid to recognize when your pee color gets too dark. You're too dumb for that. That's what they think. So what they do is they err on the side of way too much, and they say, just drink until your pee is clear. Because what they've done is they've avoided one problem. They've avoided you being underhydrated by making you overhydrated. How did our ancestors ever survive without carrying water bottles around all day? Like we're making our kids do. Like, carry your water bottle everywhere. I mean, but yes, if you want your kids to have good water because you don't want them drinking tap water, then yeah, you got to have them carry around a water bottle. I understand that. I understand the practicalities of this poisonous world we live in better than most. So, yeah. But you do not need to be drinking water all day long. Oh my God. Stop. If you're peeing clear all the time, you're drinking too much water or fluids, whatever you're drinking. So, let's see. I got to get going. Like, I got one more question in me before I got to leave. So, Kurtu asks, what causes atrial fibrillation, a toxicity or deficiency? Someone I know is experiencing this. Well, okay. So when I hear heart rhythm problems, the first thing that comes to mind is a potassium deficiency. So I went and I just searched potassium, atrial fibrillation, PubMed, In this paper, serum potassium levels and the risk of atrial fibrillation, the Rotterdam study, 2013. The conclusion line. In this study, low serum levels of potassium were associated with a higher risk of atrial fibrillation. Okay. Oh, they don't have the... So the next thing I would think of is magnesium. So most diseases out there. So I want you to understand what vitamin A does in the system. It increases serum calcium levels. It raises calcium levels by pulling calcium straight out of bone. This is in the research. Vitamin D raises your blood calcium levels by either pulling calcium out of bone or increasing calcium absorption from your diet. I can tell you that on hair tests, anybody who is worth their salt in hair testing understands that when calcium goes up on a hair test, copper goes up too, and vice versa. They go up together. So all these things that I talk about as being poisons, like vitamin D supplements and vitamin A toxicity and copper, and then people who take calcium supplements or do tons of dairy, they get tons of calcium in their system. What does calcium do in the human system? We're talking about principles here, concepts. Calcium stiffens. Calcium, there's a little gnat in here. Calcium stiffens. Calcium precipitates. Calcium crystallizes. Calcium is necessary for contractions. Gosh, what would a heart rhythm where there's like excessive contractions going faster than they should, what might cause that? An excess of calcium in the system. And what does high calcium tend to deplete in the system? Potassium. Go look up hypercalcemia, hypokalemia. You'll find that there's actually quite a few papers saying that hypercalcemia, high blood calcium, will deplete potassium. And one of the major things I do with people is help them reduce their systemic levels of calcium, like all their bone spurs and ligament, calcifications and heart calcifications and brain calcifications and liver calcifications. You know that the liver can calcify too? So I work on getting their calcium down, and I often tell people you could use more potassium. So when I used to talk about vitamin A raises calcium, vitamin D supplements raise calcium, copper raises calcium. And now we're finding that high calcium by itself will lower potassium. And I used to say copper depletes potassium, and vitamin A depletes potassium, and vitamin D supplements deplete potassium. Do you see how all this is connected now via calcium? And what does the mainstream push you to have plenty of in your diet? Calcium and vitamin D and vitamin A and copper. They couldn't be trying to kill us, could they? They couldn't be. No way. So potassium is there. So what does magnesium do? Magnesium in your body, if you have enough of it, it can help dissolve calcium deposits. And magnesium is necessary for things to relax. What does the world need more of today? Contracting or relaxing, do you think? When we're just talking about like giant concepts. They're making you calcium excess and potassium deficient. What are we doing here? We're doing the opposite. So what would I think of first? I would think of magnesium for atrial fibrillations. So when we're talking about short term, and just so you guys know, I have huge potassium articles and huge magnesium articles in the Love Your Liver program. It's everyone is supposed to experiment with these things. Can I tell people? I had somebody come to me yesterday, how much potassium should I take for this? And I was like, I cannot tell you that. Potassium is absolutely individually figured out. Potassium is absolutely the biggest thing that people in the Love Your Liver program do not put enough effort into figuring out. It's always the thing I tell people. How are you doing on your potassium? What are you doing on your potassium? How's it helping? And I'll have people be like, well, I'm on 200 milligrams of supplemental potassium. And I'm like, that's not even half a banana. You might need to push a bit more. So, short-term fix for somebody trying to experiment. If I had atrial fibrillation, let me put it this way. If I had atrial fibrillation, what would I be experimenting with, knowing what I know? I would be experimenting with food potassium sources that are low in vitamin A first. There's not a lot of these foods. Weird that nature would put potassium with vitamin A. Unless nature, God, knew that vitamin A depleted potassium. Weird. So there are potassium foods that are low in vitamin A. We talk about them in the potassium articles. So I would work on foods first. If this person was having atrial fibrillations, an easy thing for them to do might be to eat 2 bananas in a day and have some peeled white potatoes, because those are high in potassium. And if all of a sudden they go, oh my gosh, I didn't have any atrial fibrillations that day. Oh. Then they know that it's most likely a potassium-related problem. So then they might also get on some topical magnesium. 10 times as effective as pills of magnesium, in my opinion. And in my experience watching hair test after hair test after hair test after hair test. So, but they would do the potassium first, because too much magnesium on top of a potassium deficiency can make your potassium deficiency symptoms show up stronger. So we fix potassium first. Then so those are short-term strategies. The long-term strategy would be to fix the vitamin A toxicity, which is depleting potassium and raising calcium. Don't take vitamin D supplements, which are raising calcium and depleting potassium. Fix your copper toxicity, which is raising calcium and depleting potassium. How do you do that? Well, you can do the do-it-yourself thing at the Love Your Liver program at members.nutritiondetective.com, or you could work with me directly so we can attack these things in the most efficient way, both via testing, hair and blood, and feedback potentially twice a week via the office hours that are included in those packages. So anyway, we are at 9:15. I have to get going. Let me just make sure there was no super chats that snuck in that I don't miss. Okay, so hope you all enjoyed that today. Again, you want to find more from me, nutritiondetective.com. All of my social media links are down in the video info below. If you're interested in consulting with me, testing and consulting with me, that's at nutritiondetective.com under the consultations tab. We got the best lactose. Sorry, I got a mosquito in here. We got the lactoferrin, best on the market, and my Keystone Minerals, my kind of like multi-mineral supplement that works really well for a lot of people. Not everyone, but it works well for a lot of people because different people need different things. So anyway, that's all there. Hope you guys enjoyed this. We will get through more questions next week. Hope to see you again. Have a great weekend. Bye now.